Alright, so we are going to try and play a little game to see if you can guess the show I'm talking about. A person who lives a depressing existence suddenly has something crazy happen to them. To their surprise, they awake with their memories fully intact in a world that they don't recognize. A world of swords, magic, a place completely unlike our own and brimming with possibilities. Now, I want you to close your eyes and give me your best guess as to what this show is called. Alright, time's up. If you guessed basically any recent anime from the past 5 years, you had a pretty good shot of getting it right. Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation follows the same isekai formula, with our main character Rudy suddenly being born as a newborn child with the entirety of his memories intact. He exploits this fact, learning all that he can about magic and the world around him at a young age. This isn't all he exploits, however, and this also leads us into the main topic we will be diving into. Firstly, however, I feel like it is very important to establish a fundamental rule about this world. In this land, everybody is horny as shit. Literally everybody and their mother are pent up and deserve to be locked up in horny jail. You have a wife and her husband consummating their marriage on the other side of their child's wall, while both the tutor and the maid are trying their best to participate. I don't know if this is how it used to be without technology and the lack of adult material for one and all, but it most definitely is in the world that Rudy has been reborn into. On top of this behavior, there are a lot of dark aspects dropped here and there throughout the show. The maid mentions how she was sexually assaulted by the father many years ago. A father offers to tie up his daughter and leave her for another guy to take advantage of. It was these moments that made me pause the show and think, what the fuck? The way that the characters so nonchalantly bring these instances up in casual conversation is unsettling, as they are talking about some pretty horrific shit while passing it off as an everyday occurrence. While definitely messed up, I feel like this helps to flesh out the world we have suddenly ended up in. Different rules apply here, ones that would be outrageous in our own. Nonetheless, the main culprit that I want to bring up involves our main character, Rudy. By the nature of the story, the situation is pretty weird from the beginning. You have a middle-aged man in a newborn's body, and while this poses enough problems, Rudy doesn't exactly do much to help either. As we watch him grow up, he is obviously bound to interact with people around his own age. The age that he appears as, that is. And following in the footsteps of the grown-ups, the kids are bound to get into some perverted stuff as well. The thing is, Rudy also participates in a lot of this behavior, and while it would definitely be strange for a 10-year-old child to be acting this way, Rudy has the mental capacity of a 30-some-year-old. I don't think I need to explain why this is an issue. His behavior leads to some really uncomfortable scenes, and there isn't much defending that can be done regarding his actions. Yet, here I am, having finished the entire show. Am I looking forward to the next part of the season? Yeah, I actually am. Does this mean that I'm a complete degenerate? No, I don't think so. I feel like everybody should be able to make these types of decisions for themselves. There are plenty of shows that have divisive material, with millions of people being able to publicly enjoy them. Take Game of Thrones, for example. There are some very questionable things that happen in that show, such as extreme violence, rape, and pretty much everything under the sun. Yet there it is, being one of the most popular pieces of media to have aired in the past decade. Am I saying that you are in the wrong if you find Mushoku Tensei or these other shows disgusting? Absolutely not. I would be lying to you if I said it didn't bother me while watching it, and that it may have even lessened my opinion of the show as a whole. I do think that, however, divisive shows like these have the right to exist. They challenge us to think about what types of morals we as people value, something that may not naturally occur as we make our way through life. For example, I've personally never walked up and stabbed anybody, and don't have any plans to do so in the future. However, I was able to learn about the consequences of doing something like this, the tragedy and the pain that the death of another person causes, through other sources, such as books and other forms of media. I've been able to come to a surface level understanding of what it means to do something like that, and am a better person for it. I was able to learn what is right and wrong without having to actually go out and experience it firsthand. Having darker topics kept out of reach serves to deprive people of these learning points. I think that our lives being overly censored to the point that we are detached from the messed up stuff that's out there in the real world can be dangerous, and that this creative freedom should be preserved. And because of this freedom, I was able to decide for myself that, you know what? The shit that Rudy does in this show, I really don't like. Now, I feel like it is equally important to call out the people who literally can't fathom the other side of the conversation. In my eyes, there are three groups of people involved in the discussion of Rudy's actions. You have the readers of the light novels who adamantly defend anything that happens in the show, trying their best to somehow justify that punting a kid across the street is a totally moral thing to do. You have the opposing side who claims that the show is the devil's work and that anybody who watches it is a pedophile and should be shipped off to Azkaban immediately. And then you have the majority who sit on their couch and think, wow, this show is pretty cool. I like magic and swords. No matter what your opinions are, while you have the right to think whatever you want, I feel like the least we can do is to be nice and respect each other. It's just a show after all. Anyways, other than that whole debacle, the show itself is actually pretty great. Within the plot of the show, the biggest roadblock our main character runs into isn't about being the strongest there ever was. In fact, he is actually quite overpowered. Before he was killed in his previous life, he was a 30-year-old hermit that jacked off and played video games all day. He was completely shut off from the rest of society, and because of this, what he lacks aren't magical abilities, they are social skills. Interacting with other people and overcoming trauma that held him down for so long are the real challenges. And the show really plays off of these character moments. I'm a sucker for self-improvement shows, so this definitely rubbed me the right way. Another plus is that throughout 11 episodes, we get to see our main characters start out as a newborn and end up as a 10-year-old child. I've always liked watching characters slowly grow up before our very eyes, and that's literally what happens right here. It adds a sense of progression to the show, a feeling that we are always moving forward, no matter what. I hope that the show continues to watch our characters grow and eventually have our main character in his 20s or something, instead of perpetually being stuck as a 10-year-old child. But that's just a personal preference and something I think would be cool. The show looks great, with simple training sequences looking more dynamic than most shows' grand finales. There really is a lot to like about the show, and no matter what opinions you may have, I think it's important to be able to take a step back and realize that, again, at the end of the day, it's just a show. Being able to come together, agree that yes, pedophilia is bad, and then going on your merry way. Whether that is watching the show because you love the thing for what it is, or moving on in your life because it just isn't your cup of tea. I feel like this is a goal that we can all aim for.